right, what is going on, guys? It is Adam, aka Marf, and there's some major things going down, including a huge... All right, what is going on? Migration of tankers. We've got strato tankers leaving the country and going God knows where. Again, over the Pacific and over the Atlantic. Last night, over the last 24 hours, people have been watching flight radar and they've been seeing our U.S. Air Force going all over the place, including massive tankers. If you didn't notice the thumbnail, of course, this was the very beginning of it. I was watching this last night after getting a heads up. I think it was a heads up from No One Here Yet or ILEA. I cannot remember which, but I'll give credit to both. Again, and it was something that immediately people are going, what the hell is going on? People think that there may be a major contingency plan that is getting put into place. Over 24 U.S. Air Force KC-135s, the really big ones, and KC-46A tankers from across the United States appeared on flight tracking software yesterday evening, taking off from their bases and heading over the Atlantic. It isn't clear where they were dragging any combat aircraft with them, but there wasn't any obvious signs of that. Again, while tanker movements in this direction are far from abnormal, such a large, near simultaneous migration of the jets was very peculiar, especially at a time of extreme crisis in the Middle East. The exact reason for the mass deployment is unclear, although many of the potential answers would indicate a change or preparations for a potential change. If you look at this, these are all tankers that took off. At the time that I saw this, it was only 4. Within just a couple hours, you had, I mean, just massive. Look at this. All KC tankers, KC 135s that were the other ones. So something is going on. We're going to talk about it right now. We'll be right back right after this. Nothing in this show should be considered legal, medical, or financial advice. The views of the callers can differ considerably and do not necessarily reflect my opinion, Dex's opinion, or anyone else who works with the show. You should always do your own research and consult with professionals. The internet is full of fake news, so please take everything with a grain of salt. If you have not already, it helps us out if you end up going through any of our affiliates, and it helps you out if you end up protecting yourself against cybercrime. NordVPN is one of the best and one of the easiest to use. If you do not have a virtual private network, it protects your IP address, which is your online identity, which actually connects to your real address and everything else. It also connects to you. If you know anything about how they are data logging and basically getting your profiles down, you can prevent that by having a VPN. Nord is, again, one of the easiest. Download it. It's like an on switch and off switch. All you have to do. Go to marfooglenews.com/VPN. Not only will you get a giant discount on this, but you will also be helping us. I appreciate your support, and I appreciate everyone that goes through any of our affiliates. Can't say thank you enough. All right, hey, so Craig Alicious, great comment. We are looking at it right now. Says reports of ships on fire near Strait of Hormuz. I sure hope not, because we've looked at the Strait of Hormuz ever since that infamous video now, where they said, we'll take 7 countries in 7 years, blah, 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 and we'll end up with Iran. And now look at where we're at, right? Now, I'm going to go back to these, some of the tweets following this, that as they were at, remember, I caught this at 4 because of No One Here Yet. It says now at 24 tankers, right? The next one was now at 26. You see the 2 taking off from the West Coast. Then at 28, all heading the same directions. What the hell is happening right now? Again, it is a crazy time. We're going to go over all of the updates from the last 24 hours right now. Let's bring in my co-host/internet brother, Dex James. What is going on, and how are you doing today?
Hello, Adam, and hello, Foogle fam. I'm doing just fine.
So let's check up on the Strait of Hormuz if we can, and then Tracy Q, thank you, Michelle Kosho. We have Christian Mercier, Action Jackson. Let's see here, Juanita Seguski, Mojo Arid. We have Renee Ricau. I believe that's how you say it. Thank you for being here, and lots of new names. Thank you guys for joining us and giving us a chance. All right, U.S. aircraft carrier heads west from the South China Sea amid the Middle East tensions. But is that really a great idea? Of course, if you did not know, over the last 5 or 6 days, we heard that Chinese aircraft carriers, for the first time, actually crossed the island defense line and were heading out into the middle of the Pacific. Not good, to say the least. Japan spotted at least 2 carriers, and of course, others could be spotted. Again, this is a very, very large ocean over there. Well, now you have aircraft carriers that were over there in the South China Sea now heading to the Middle East. So that's kind of shows you something might be going down. Dex, do you want to talk about the Nimitz and where it is going?
Yeah, so it's presumed it's heading into the Middle East conflict. It's leaving the South China Sea. It was tracked earlier leaving. It was supposed to go to Vietnam, but 2 sources saying it's being called off. So it's heading into deployment in the Middle East. Now, here's what's interesting, and one thing you should consider when you think about this particular ship. This ship is scheduled to be decommissioned next year, so it's actually on its final mission, its final deployment. So it's underway right now. This is the last deployment it's ever going to have. It's a 50-year-old ship. So I say that because for those of you that think that something could be set up or something could be used to drag the U.S. in the war, well, taking a ship like this out in some fashion could easily be a means to pull the hearts and minds of America into a combat with Iran.
Yeah, fantastic, Freddie. We're talking about a ship that's already on its last legs. And who knows, we could see the president actually extend this. In his last term, he actually extended ships that were supposed to be decommissioned. He said, hey, if it still runs, if it's not broken, let's not fix it. So he could actually extend it, but I highly doubt, I don't even know if that can be done at this point, but this is its last run. So if something like this gets blown up in the middle of the water, it's probably already a tax write-off, or however they do that, right? But who knows? I mean, there's $4.7 trillion that is just already not only rode off, just disappeared into the multiverse. So yeah, something is happening here, and obviously we think we know what's going on. It's Iran and Israel, but this kind of shows that we might be backing them up, that something bigger might be going on. And if you really think about Iran, there is a sentiment that they are begging for peace now, that some of their officials and their lawmakers are saying, hey, we really want to take a second look at this peace thing. Well, Israel and Netanyahu even directly says, they're saying that they want peace, but they're just trying to stall. They're lying in all of these, peace talks. Again, they weren't over. There was supposed to be one on Sunday, I believe, or there was supposed to be one more at least. And, they are saying that they're begging. Well, if they really are in that position, that they're on their back legs, you have Russia, who is not only talking to Israel, but also talking to Iran, pulling people out of places. If they are on their back legs, then they're going to do whatever and, whoever they have, they're going to use it. And if they did have some sort of planned event in the United States and in Europe, this might kickstart whatever event that was. It is, a very alarming scenario that we are looking at right now. And then Israel issues Tehran evacuation order as Iran threatens to leave nuclear weapons treaty. So this is something where you have a mass evacuation of folks actually getting out of several places in the Middle East. And it says the order was similar to those issued in Gaza, a further sign Israeli campaign is evolving towards a war of attrition. Israeli forces issued an evacuation order of residents of a large part of Tehran on Monday, warning them that the imminent explosions are going to go off of a military infrastructure in the area in a social media post very similar to those regularly directed at the Palestinians in the Strip over the past 20 months. On the post on X was from the account of the Israel Defense Forces Arabic spokesperson, Colonel Adre, and it says, and as a further sign of evolving nature of the Israeli campaign against Iran, which began with attacks on air defenses, nuclear sites, and the military chain of command, but appears to have drifted towards a war of attrition focused on Iran's oil and gas industry and on the capital. Not to mention that last part, oil and, of course, towards the gas industry. So this is going to have worldwide effects no matter what happens here. This is a huge, huge deal. Dex, as far as this post, they're essentially giving them a heads up. They're saying, hey, that this is most likely about to go down.
Well, yeah, exactly. They're warning the citizens to get out because it's going to get bad, and it went beyond that. Even our president was at the G7 meeting that was in Alberta, Canada, and he's leaving early now, heading back to the White House. I think he was going to attend dinner, but then be out and get right back straight to the White House in the early morning hours um, because of the escalation that's going on. And he put up a warning too. If you got that, we can pull that up.
Yeah, so I'm gonna pull this up too, and I just wanted to make sure we pull up. Hold on here. There we go. So I'm checking also the Strait of Hormuz stuff, and then here's the presidential warning. Iran should have signed the deal. I told them to sign. What a shame and a waste of human life. Simply stated, Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. I said it over and over again. Everyone should immediately evacuate Tehran. So do people think that this is a contingency plan, or do you think that those tankers are going to resupply whatever mission's about to take place next? Are they finally going to take out Iran? And if they do, Iran has some treaties signed with some major parties. This is going to be a bigger deal than I think many people think it is. This is not going in a safe direction. Before we move on, make sure with all of this craziness going on, we have a few really important recommendations. All of our affiliates are things that we believe will save your life or get you through a disaster. Make sure to go check out EMP Shield as one of them. Definitely have food and water first, and then have protection, whether that be Beretta style or, of course, EMP Shield or something like this. This is a device that, again, now is being used by DHS, U.S. Air Force, the FBI, DOD. All of these parties are using this to protect themselves. Then we need to start protecting us on our own. Again, like many others, I don't trust that the government is going to think about me first when a disaster happens. I don't know. I just look at things like North Carolina, Hawaii, of course, Paradise, and other places, right? And Hurricane Katrina is a huge one. This is a device that will protect your cars, trucks, motorcycles, boats, generators against not only an electromagnetic pulse attack from any adversary, but it will also protect against a Carrington level event from the sun. Go to marfooglenews.com/EMP and make sure to use the code MARF. Also check out, they have new devices that will not only protect your internet connection, again, even your Starlink. So now they have plenty of devices, including the Ethernet model that will shield all of your internet. Go to marfooglenews.com/EMP. Very easy to put in your car, less than 10 minutes, and your car will run after several EMP blasts or a Carrington level event from the sun. marfooglenews.com/EMP. Code MARF gets you $50 off per device. All right, let's go into Iran has vowed to unleash the largest and most intense missile attack in Israel's history tonight. And this, Dex, this is actually after the most has hit Israel that we've ever seen, or at least the most has gotten through their defenses that we've ever seen. And at least that's what they're saying.
Yeah, I mean, it just continues to escalate, and it's a question of how many times do they break through the dome, and each time they do, it gets worse and worse for Israel. But yeah, Iran is vowing to unleash its largest and most insane. That was what they said. The first blitz the evening as the Middle East braced for the fourth night of strikes, but I was watching the cameras. It was probably like 3 a.m. there at the time, and I hadn't seen much. I don't know if maybe some stuff had happened earlier and I missed it. But it's now daylight, so I think everything's going to be on hold until the next nightfall, typically. But we do have some information on the Strait of Hormuz. It's in the up next if you want to grab that too. So the campaigns keep going back and forth. Obviously, there is no rest for Tehran or any other part of Iran that they've been attacking, from gas and oil to the nuclear plants, which I think they've pretty much finished those. And now it's on to military bases and other locations. And as we reported in the other show, it sounds like they may even be considering taking the head of the entire organization out. That's another topic that's now up for debate.
Now, I'm trying to make sure that we try to verify what the heck is going on here. 1 hour ago, photos are currently circulating which appear to show 3 ships on fire off the coast of Iran in the Gulf of Oman near the Strait of Hormuz. NASA's fire information for research management maps appear to confirm 3 fires in the Gulf of Oman. Now, this is not confirmed right now. But this again, Craig Alicious, thank you for the heads up on this. Well, we're live. You guys have to let us know if something is going on. And it is a viewer-powered channel. This is the Strait of Hormuz.
This is one.
Again, Strait of Hormuz is an extremely important strategic waterway for the world. And we've known for years that there might be some sort of Fantastic Freddy that would go down here. So let's hope that this is not it. Some event that would somehow, have a ship that has the wrong flag on it that ends up going up in flames or attacking another ship that has our flag on it that gets us involved into a massive world war. Hopefully that does not happen. Dex, go ahead.
Yeah, well, one of the things that Iran has been threatening to do for the last few days is to shut down the Strait of Hormuz. So this could be an evidence that they're trying to do that, maybe by taking ships out and telling people not to pass through anymore, and if you do, you're going to get taken out. Or it could be something else. But yes, that's certainly one of the things that's obviously on the table that they've been bragging about or threatening to do.
And if they are on their back legs, if they're in a corner, this is something that would be highly, highly, highly likely. Thank you. Alex Gallicos says Navy sending USS Nimitz to Middle East ahead of Sked right before decommissioning. Pray for them. Fantastic Freddy to get us in conflict. Alex Gallicos, exactly. This is the last run for it. Be a perfect time to blast it up. And then Stephen Click, the Minnesotan killing Democrat, is leftist who is cleansing the Democrat Party of non-radicals. He is not Christian. Leftist hypocrite. All things random. Hey, all, it looks like, unfortunately, we will be going to war. Yeah, that's what it looks like. And then let's see here. Dex, let's go over the next piece, which is, could Putin attack Britain by blocking the sun? Pretty wild.
Okay, this is kind of wild, huh? So foreign states could create chaos by dimming Britain's sun and orchestrating a natural disaster. This is the new warning. They always have a warning about Russia, from everything from taking out IKEAs to creating fires, cutting power lines, internet lines, underwater cables, sabotaging airplanes, and of course, just straight up invading the rest of Europe. But we're going to now add a new type of warfare, a solar engineering technology that they fear Russia could use against the UK and deploy aerosols, and do that in a way that will reflect the light back into space and do it such that it harms the UK, and and how that type of new form of warfare could play out. And that's what they're worried about. That's what they're talking about now in the UK.
Again, something like this. What if we did see this happen in mass, though? Like, what if some country does use weather as a weapon? And why Russia wants war between Israel and Iran. Interesting opinion here. Again, Israel's assault on Iran represents a double helping of good news for the Kremlin. Years of two-track diplomacy have allowed Vladimir Putin to position himself both as a friend to Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, which I honestly, when you see even responses to this posted on X, it's like a lot of people are like, huh? We've never heard of this. You don't hear much about how Putin has actually shaped himself as kind of a friend to Israel, right? And it says, and to the Iranian leadership. That will make Russia as indispensable partner to the U.S. once it embarks on the long process of patching up the nuclear realities of the Middle East in the wake of this conflict. Though Israeli planes have so far carefully avoided striking Iran's oil export infrastructure, the war has inevitably spooked markets and boosted sagging crude oil prices, and with them, Putin's war chest. Over the last 3 months of inclusive negotiations with the Trump administration over ending the Ukraine conflict, Russian negotiations always insisted that Ukraine was one part of the global package of military, economic, and political issues where Washington's fundamental interests could align with Moscow's. Now it's happened, and in the wake of the Israeli attack, Putin is the only world leader to speak by phone to Netanyahu and Iranian President Masoud Pezeshkian and the President Donald Trump. Thanks to Israel's devastating military strikes, Washington now faces a multi-dimensional challenge as it simultaneously tries to prevent a global oil price shock, a bilateral conflict between Iran and Saudi Arabia, and blowback against U.S. military and civilian targets by Iranian agents or proxies. Russia, with its military and diplomatic ties to Tehran, will inevitably be part of a diplomatic balancing act, all of a sudden pressuring the Kremlin into winding down operations in Ukraine. Seems like some small potatoes compared to helping prevent the whole Middle East from going up in flames. Russia has been cosplaying as an ally of Iran. In the immediate aftermath of the Israeli strikes, Russia's foreign ministry issued a strongly worded statement condemning the attacks as categorically unacceptable, warning that all the consequences of this provocation will fall on the Israeli leadership. Moscow also urged both parties to exercise restraint in order to prevent further escalations of tensions and keep the region from sliding into a full-scale conflict. Well, that's happening. That's exactly what is going on. And it is odd that he is sitting in the middle of this, but I don't think that that's by coincidence. Right now, Putin is a part of this entire puzzle, and Putin is just a player. This all goes back, and in my opinion, this all leads right back to China and to other countries. Again, this is all part of the entire scenario that's happening right now, I think was planned. And right now, everything is sliding right into place. Dex, do you want to talk about how their relationship since the 90s and how this has actually played out to where this might actually be an advantage to Russia?
Well, I think right now, Russia looks at the relationship with Israel as how do they prevent Israel from helping Ukraine? Like they don't need yet another partner sending in more weapons and money. So that on that hand, that's what they were dealing with. And then of course you got to look at it, at the end of the day, it's always about what's important for Russia's interests. And, things like Syria were important to Russia's interests because it gave them more access to ports and waters and military bases that were outside of their country. And to that extent, what does Iran do for Russia? Well, there's a lot of weapons trades going through. There's probably a lot of oil trade and going back and forth with them as well in that industry and sharing. So to the extent that any of that becomes a problem and it becomes a loss for Russia, then you're going to, in my opinion, see them want to stick up for it. Like they're worried about themselves just as much as they're going to be maybe worried about an alliance that they have. It's easy to just, have an alliance and say, well, we should just look for peace. But then, when it hurts you personally, then you get involved. And we see that with America all the time. And we certainly, I would expect to see the same from Russia. So to the extent that they may play this brokering position right now, if things go really south with Iran, it wouldn't surprise me if they don't jump in, if it has a negative effect on Russia itself.
And as far as the oil market, going kaput, well, if this stuff that is going on in the Strait of Hormuz, which again, you probably have heard about from here first, at this point, if this is happening, they're saying that 3 crude oil tankers in the Strait of Hormuz may have been hit. If this is true, this is exactly the direction it's headed, right? Have a massive, massive hit to what right now the world's currency is really tied into. They say in the next few years that we are going to change everything. All of these countries are on this path to renewable resources and that we're going to get away from petrol. I mean, they call it the dollar, the petrodollar for a reason. So if all of this is happening, some sort of breakdown and a huge break the house down to the foundation has to happen for it to be built back up again. That's exactly what I think is happening right now. And you would have to see the oil market, everything collapse. You'd have to see the currencies collapse. You would have to see everything happen all at once. And that's exactly what it looks like is going on. Dex, talk about the massive stealth flying wing emerges at the secretive Chinese base.
Yeah, so check this out. You got to see the pictures, folks. This thing is a huge. So a new stealth aircraft of some sort, basically a giant flying wing, has made another appearance and got picked up by a satellite image in a town in near Milan, I believe it is, a base near Milan in Xinjiang province. So, but this very little is known. It's previously unseen aircraft. It was sitting outside of an already intriguing hangar complex at the airfield. It's notorious for having advanced air combat programs for them there. So they expect to see new aircraft when they take, or if they're investigating these locations with satellite imagery. It's the best opportunity to find anything that's new coming out of there. But this is a giant flying wing style stealth looking plane, and I don't know if it's got a cockpit or if it's a drone, but it's huge.
Yeah, as far as the size of this thing, a car would just be the very tip of this. So about 5 or 6 feet. That white area on the tip, that's as long as a 10-foot car. So this thing is just massive. If you look at the size comparison, a 40-yard container is right here, and the wing. I mean, this thing is just absolutely massive. So what is it made for? Is it for drones? Is it a drone that's meant for going in unconspicuously, or is it something that can carry huge ordinances? We don't know. And then we have, again, Minnesota lawmaker. The guy who was taking him out got caught, and there's some very, very odd connections. We'll talk about that here in 2 seconds. I do want to remind you guys, food and water are first on anybody's list, and it should be. Again, make sure to go over and check out My Patriot Supply. This is our suggestion as far as freeze-dried food that will last 25 years and one of the most affordable deals out there. Go to marfooglenews.com/prep. Again, you have massive deals on 3-month packages. If you go with the 3-month, again, this is going to be cheaper than if you go to the grocery store and get 3 months of food. I mean, it's incredible to get freeze-dried food at these kind of prices. Now, as far as packages, you don't have to go for a 3-month, but the biggest discounts are definitely worth it. But they have 1-month packages. They have 72-hour kits. They have all sorts of different packages. You'll just have to go and check out what is available at the time of the filming of this episode. Again, go to marfooglenews.com/prep. Again, that is My Patriot Supply, and they have freeze-dried food that can last 25 plus years. So this will be good until 2052. Again, you don't have to worry about rotating it in and out. You just, get it and forget it. All right, marfooglenews.com/prep. Again, that's marfooglenews.com/prep. And then Minnesota lawmaker assassin apprehended after multi-day manhunt. And Dex, from the very beginning of this, I thought that this was like 40 chest or something. Like something massive is going on here with this. And they're essentially saying that he was even an appointee of Governor Tim Walz in 2019. Is this made to look as bad as it is right now? Like, is this?
I think this whole thing is set up to make all of us question, because they've even got like somebody who claims to be his friend saying that he was a big supporter of the current president. And so you've got, like, one hand, you've got everybody pulling up all the opposite side, and on the other hand, the opposite side's pulling up all of their opposite side, right? And they're just pointing the finger in both directions on this guy. So it's really interesting, to say the least, because of all of the connections and opportunity here to not just have clarity, but to create further divide, not even just from his actions, but then from the results of who the person is and what is being played out now throughout the media and even on social media. So yeah, lots of rabbit holes to go digging through here. Certainly plenty of evidence that, he's worked with an NGO, didn't seem to be making much money off of it, just enough to pay his salary, apparently, is what some people were claiming. Obviously worked in security, worked overseas and in Africa and other locations, and then had these appointments from the governor there, as well as then we've got, some other people claiming that he was a big supporter of the current president. So, I think this one's so ripe for division that it's just going to continue to fester more than just his actions, which were pretty horrific.
Yeah, and again, I don't have a theory on this because this is so wild. I'm not gonna. I see everybody going, "Oh, well, look, you got to go question Governor Tim, right?" Well, this is made to look obvious. Like this is obviously some sort of 4D chess, rock paper scissors, rock paper, rock paper. I mean, like something is totally off with this whole situation. This guy, by the way, must have gained, they showed pictures of him in 2019. He gained a lot of weight. So what was going on in his personal life? Maybe this guy was desperate or they had something on him. Most patsies, they do.
But the cowboy hat image, Adam, we saw was like this big fat guy. And they said that was a recent image. They had just taken it.
Yeah.
And now they got this image of this guy with the military holding him back, or LEO in camo holding him back, right? He don't look the same. It doesn't look like the same structure as that person who had the cowboy hat on. But maybe it's just the camera. Who knows?
I don't know. The bank, it looks like he's in a bank, and he looks like a massive dude. If you don't know what picture we're talking about, can we attach that to the website, that tweet that from the other show?
Yeah, it's on the website. I'll go find it.
Okay, because it definitely says something. They, of course, blacked out the, what are these special operators? What are these guys? Anybody recognize that patch, the tactical unit that grabbed him? For obvious reasons, right? So these guys caught him, and he doesn't look scared. He looks like, they'll put me in witness protection. I'll be in, Florida by Monday or something. I don't know. Something is off by this. Just the whole thing smells. And then Netanyahu tells ABC he's not ruling out taking out Iran's Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei. Now, whether he does or whether he even thinks he's going to, the fact that he just said this out loud obviously is a big deal, because the actual Supreme Leader, if the Supreme Leader believes that another country is going to try to take him out, if they have anything that is locked and loaded as far as operations or sleeper cells that are going to be activated, I would assume that they're going to do it pretty soon. So this is something to be aware of. Again, he says, we've had a half a century of conflict spread by this regime that terrorizes everyone in the Middle East, has, of course, exploded the Aramco oil fields in Saudi Arabia, is spreading terrorism and subversion and sabotage everywhere. The forever conflict is what Iran wants, and they're rebringing us to the brink of nuclear war. In fact, what Israel is doing is preventing this, bringing an end to this aggression. And we can only do so by standing up to the forces of evil. As if Israel would intended to target the Supreme Leader, he said, we are going to do what we need to do. So as far as the media saying that he is stating it directly, he says, I'm not going to get into the details, but we've targeted their top nuclear scientists. It's basically Hitler's nuclear team. Today it's Tel Aviv. Tomorrow it's New York. Look, I understand America first. I don't understand America dead. That's what these people want. They chant America. So we're doing something that is in the service of mankind, of humanity, and it's a battle of good against evil. America does, should, and does stand with the good. It says that's what the President Trump is doing, and I deeply appreciate his support. So, and it goes, I'm not surprised. I mean, they want to continue to have these fake talks in which they lie, they cheat, they string the U.S. along, and we have a very solid intel on that. He said they want to keep building their nuclear weapons and building their mass ballistic missile arsenal, which they're firing at our people. They want to continue to create two existential threats against Israel while they're talking. That's not going to happen. Asked to respond to some Republicans opposed to America's military support for Israeli strike, including commentator Tucker Carlson, Netanyahu said Iran is a threat to the entire world. I don't know why they had to add that Tucker Carlson is throwing this in. Again, I did share just my opinion about, I disagree with Tucker on some of these things. As far as I also disagree with this dude, Netanyahu. I think that most of us can agree that the governments, like I don't hate the Chinese people. I don't like the Chinese government. As far as I'm very proud of the United States, I'm not so proud of our politicians. I don't hate Russia, but Putin is not my favorite. In fact, that guy is evil in itself, and the way that he got into power is villainous, right? All of these people are just bad. So, but in the case of Iran, Iran, their government, there is just horrible. They say regime, right? Their regime is really, really bad. But is there a good war ever? No. But at the same time, is there is there things that come out of a war that could be good? Yes. As far as this goes, though, this is world war. I mean, we're talking about world war, and that's the main thing I hear from people is they're afraid of this happening because it will cause World War III. I hear a lot of fear, but one thing though is we shouldn't make decisions out of fear. Dex, with Netanyahu, he's kind of hinting towards taking out the Ali Khamenei, the supreme leader. Even if there's a hint of this, I would believe that the supreme leader is going to be pretty pissed off, and he's already on his, in a corner, back down.
Well, I mean, look, the supreme leader and whoever else in under his command have numerous times tried to take Netanyahu and others out too. So those attempts have been there. They've stopped them, thwarted them, and seen them. So, but yeah, it when it comes to a conflict like this, it's typically not, it can be used, but it's not usually like targeting the head of another state. Like, if they were going to target Putin for that matter. I mean, sure, Zelensky wants to and talks about it all the time, but most of the other cooler heads, if you want to call them that, throughout NATO would say, no, don't do that. So because they don't want their head to be on the block, so to speak, either. So yeah, it's a big deal, but certainly I think even to his point, if they were to take him out, it would pretty much be over. I don't know how over it would be, but it would certainly be a major setback. It would probably end things for now until things got restructured. But and the same could probably be argued for Netanyahu. If Iran was able to knock him out, it would probably, I don't know if it would stop things, but it certainly would change things for a bit of time.
I have a friend that's a creator that's afraid to say anything negative about Netanyahu because of their viewers. And, one thing I have to say is that I don't just jump on the bandwagon. Everybody on TikTok, right, especially when the strip stuff was all happening, it's like everybody jumped up against Israel. And of course, now everybody is like trying to support Iran. People are saying, Iran, because they are related to the strip, that Iran is who they're supporting. I don't support any of these guys. All of these guys are look at how much corruption there is in every level of this stuff, And I would say more people need to share their real opinion or even have an opinion rather than just kind of, jumping on to somebody else's. I think right now we need to really look at where this is going. I don't think many of us have the power to change much of what's about to happen, but we do have the power to prepare for it and to speak our real mind. Steel Hauling DC, L&R to everyone. Thank you for keeping me informed with the news that I don't have time to keep up with on my own. Thank you, Steel Hauling, and I appreciate that. Otto did Actic Girl. Thank you so much. Says, God help us all in Jesus' name. Amen. Well, amen to that. As far as, what's happening with this, we are going to be watching as this changes, and it's going to be changing rapidly over the next couple days. Dex, go ahead.
Well, when we were talking maybe a week ago about last week sometime about the latest threats from different organizations wanting to take out Trump, for that matter. If I recall, Trump once again said, well, if Iran was to do anything like that to me, I have orders in place that they would be completely obliterated, right? And it's almost akin to Kim Jong-un saying if he gets taken out, then everybody around him is going to be nuked, basically, right? So it just makes you wonder, for starters, I even wonder how that would work.
Are you talking about the Supreme Leader or President Trump?
No, President Trump said that he has orders in place that if the Iran was to take him out, Trump out, that he would have Iran would be decimated. He said, I've already got that in place. But I actually question, how does that in place work? Because technically, when he is eliminated, the VP, unless the VP said he'll take care of it, right, becomes the president, he has the choice to actually do that or not. It just makes you wonder if it would really happen. But I would believe it in, say, Kim's position, Kim Jong-un, who said if he gets taken out, they're whoever did it's going to get nuked, and meaning South Korea and America, pretty much, because it's not like Russia's going to do it. So and I would believe in his scenario, his standing orders would probably live, right? They would actually go down. I don't know if they'd be successful, but that's what would happen. So it just makes you wonder, like, how all of these different leaders say they've got contingency plans should someone take them out.
Well, remember, like, so say even if Vance says, yeah, we're going to do this, there could be somebody like Milley that's in between him and the button. Remember that? Milley said, I'll give China the heads up before we do anything rash, right? He was going to contact China, like, hey, by the way, we're sending nukes your way. It's a surprise attack, so you got about 30 minutes. I'm going to push the button now. Okay, buddy. All right, I'll see you at poker on Thursday. Yeah, so AK forever in my heart, member for 16 months. Says Fugel fam, faith over fear always. Well, that's right. And again, you are seeing a lot of folks make their opinion based on fear, or they're saying what they believe based out of fear. I don't know if the answer is to have courage and to say go all out. I mean, like, that's not the answer either. I don't think there's a right side right now. I think that there's a plan in place, and I think most of us need to instead worry about how we're going to prepare for what changes they have had planned for decades and what's about to go down. I mean, our system is going to collapse at some point. Once you realize that, then you're just kind of biding time until it happens. Our system, especially since they just came out with another $4.7 trillion where they don't know where the hell it went. What do you think is about to happen? Like, all of this came out. Why did all of this come out? The fact that Doge unleashed all of this and let us know how bad it was. You think that everything's just going to go back to normal and they're going to, get a handle on it? Something massive is about to go down. And it's not a good thing. Before we move on, make sure to go check out Jace. If you don't have antibiotics, this is a really good thing to have, especially if there's any chance of going to war with China. They make 90% of antibiotics. And if we ever have a situation where we're completely decoupled from China, then you are going to be screwed. But either way, even if you're in a local disaster where you cannot get to a hospital, or the hospital is down, there are no pharmacies, the pharmacy cannot serve, then it is an absolutely very, very practical thing to have antibiotics on hand. This is a service you can go on your phone, tablet, or computer, and a quick appointment with a board-certified doctor can get you a kit of all of the most commonly prescribed antibiotics right to your door. Go to marfuglenews.com/Jace and make sure to use the code MARF. Not only will you save money, but you'll also help save our independent channel. If you haven't noticed, anytime we have any kind of momentum on something, all of a sudden that video is going. So we're held back, and the way to defeat that is you guys sharing us out. So again, thank you guys for doing so. We appreciate you sharing our Fugel fam out there. Obviously, we're not getting millions and millions and millions of followers. Again, when you see channels just skyrocket like that and they're talking about all the stuff that you're not allowed to, I would question that. I'd highly recommend, again, going and getting yourself prepped, because, again, we think that all of this is part of something way, way bigger. If you want to go over to this, marfuglenews.com/Jace, Jase. Again, you help us out that way, or help us out by sharing us with a friend or family member or a coworker. Again, thanks for those of you that just brought in coworkers. I just saw a letter from Tim. Thank you so much. I appreciate you bringing in your 2 coworkers. Thank you. And to you new guys, thank you so much for being here. All right, and then thank you to your mods. Make sure to go and drop an M in the chat for your awesome, awesome mods. You've got a great list of people there. Ilea is always on the lookout for fresh news. She is always on top of it. Trinity, Red or Blue Pill, Hi-Ho, Kermit the Frog here. Wages World, covering all of the solar events. You've got, of course, Rip Curl Readiness, always a very smart and level-headed guy. Again, Bones, Chance, Jammer, all of the greats in there. So go check them out. And, of course, a big thank you to Bobby Sue as well. dropping them right now. Thank you, Alex Gallegos, Stephen Click, All Things Random, Steel Hauling DC. You guys are all tied for top supporters tonight. Thank you, thank you. Whatever Prepper, thank you for 13 months. Craig Alicious for 25 months. Autodidactic Girl, thank you so much for 3 months. And AK Forever in My Heart, thank you for 16 months. Thank you guys for being members, and thank you for supporting us and believing in us. Dex, thank you so much for your service tonight. I appreciate you.
Much love. Great job, brother.
All right, you guys, be safe, be prepared, and Marf out. It is now time for the shoutro. It's not an outro. It's not a shout-out. It is a shoutro. Susan Big, thank you for 11 months. The best mods on YouTube, Susan says.
No, 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 no.